It's no secret that Games Workshop have been, well, just a little bit lax over the last few years when it comes to Middle-earth releases. In fact, it's been well over a year since we had the last sourcebook, and last year we only had 3 new releases. So as an avid fan, rather than taking this lying down, I gathered together a crack team of the best Middle-earth YouTubers the world has to offer, or at least the ones that could be bothered taking part in this challenge, with the aim of creating some new profiles and showcasing some 3D prints, sculpts and converted miniatures for use in the Middle-earth strategy battle game. So let's get this show on the road and let me show you the miniatures and profiles that I have been working on. I'm Benji and welcome to Benji's Hobbies. So when I started thinking about profiles that don't exist but could fill a quirky or different niche in the game, I thought about who or what is most underrepresented, not only in game but also potentially in the works of Tolkien. Now before you start calling me a white knight and hitting that dislike button, because unfortunately I know what some of you out there are like, please hear me out. Now, women are very much underrepresented in The Lord of the Rings, and that's not really surprising given the world that Tolkien lived in. Interestingly, neither in The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit do 2 female characters interact, and 2 races that feature fairly prominently, those being Ents and Dwarves, are completely devoid of women altogether. However, throughout his works, some of the most powerful and heroic beings are actually women, and their actions indirectly sway the outcome of the War of the Ring. Galadriel, for example, is an incredibly powerful sorceress who took part in the overthrowing of Dol Guldur during the War of the Ring, and threw down its walls and laid bare its pits. Not an easy feat by the standards of any of the heroes of Middle-earth. We also have Éowyn, who, rather than being left behind in Edoras while the Rohirrim went to war in Gondor, concealed herself as a warrior under the alias of Durnhelm, and ultimately, without her heroic actions, the outcome of the Battle of the Pelennor Fields could have been very, very different. Now this is where my inspiration really came from for this project. I loved the idea of Shieldmaidens of Rohan taking to the field of battle to defend their villages, or to take vengeance on the Uruk-hai and Dunlendings that slaughtered their families. There is some historical evidence of Shieldmaidens having existed in reality too, so it's not a totally outlandish idea for them to appear in Rohan. Now my pals at Forgemaster Miniatures sent me some minis quite a while ago, which are absolutely perfect to represent what I have in mind. I was sent a set of both foot and mounted Shieldmaidens to put together and paint, and as with every kit designed by Forgemaster Miniatures I've had the pleasure of working with, this kit is an absolute dream. There are so many different heads, weapons, arms and shields that no 2 miniatures should ever look alike if you're careful about mixing and matching. The detailing is also second to none as well, and whilst they're not really comparable as such, I mean, one is a modern 3D sculpt and the other is a 20-year-old plastic model, they are so much nicer than the plastic Rohan warriors and riders from Games Workshop. Now what's great about these minis is that even if you don't want to use them as Shieldmaidens, they fit in perfectly alongside the standard warriors or captains of Rohan, albeit with a little bit more detail, and they do add some much needed variety to an army. I painted mine to at least somewhat blend in with the rest of my Rohirrim. I stuck to the normal greens, browns and reds of the rest of my army and made sure to give them blonde hair to match the rest of the straw heads. I also picked out any horse details on the shields with a nice bright white to make them really stand out. And just on the topic of white paints, I cannot recommend Trooper White and White Star from Two Thin Coats enough. Historically, I have massively struggled with painting white, with either the coverage being absolute garbage or the paint drying thick and blotchy, but these paints are an absolute dream to work with. If you've ever struggled with painting white, I cannot recommend these enough, and I've popped a couple of links down in the description below, so if you want to go and check them out for yourself, please make sure that you do. Now how about rules for them? As I've already mentioned, they could very easily be used as generic warriors or captains of Rohan, but that kind of defeats the objective of this project. After all, we want to create some new profiles that you guys at home can use in your own games. Me, I want my Shieldmaidens to have some flavour to differentiate them and to reflect why they became Shieldmaidens in the first place. First, defending their homes. I imagine these women fighting to the last to defend their villages and homes from any raiders, even against overwhelming odds. To reflect this, I've given them the rule of Defenders of Rohan, where any Shieldmaiden within 6 inches of a Rohan house will automatically pass any courage tests. Now this rule is going to be very situational and dependent on the terrain being used, and would possibly make them more interesting if used in a narrative game rather than in match play situations, but to me it reflects the narrative behind the minis nicely. The second special rule I've included represents the vengeance they crave, where they are so swept up in a frenzy of retribution against those who've slaughtered their families that they show ferocity and strength beyond their size and stature. To represent this, I've given them the special rule Hatred and Retribution. They gain the Hatred special rule against both Dunlending and Urukai, but not only do they get +1 to their wounding roll, but also gain +1 fight value in a turn on which they charge. Again, pretty situational depending on the army they're facing, but could really help even the odds against those armies and definitely adds a bit of flavour to the army compared to the vanilla Warriors of Rohan. Now, as all of these models are so wonderfully detailed and can be made to look totally unique, it would be definitely a missed opportunity not to create a hero to lead my Shieldmaidens in their defense of Rohan. I used an online name generator to give me some prompts and it did not disappoint. Gwendrith Fairguard, the defiant widow of the remote camp, now has some rules which you'll find linked below. I think a lower level hero definitely adds something different to a Rohan army that doesn't already exist, where most of the current ones are 3 might and mid to high points level heroes. Now I'd love to know what you think of my homebrew rules for the Shieldmaidens, so go and take a look. And hell, if you get a chance to playtest them, I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback on whether they're balanced or not, and if you like them enough, who knows, I may even add some more over time. A massive thank you yet again to my boys at Forge Master Minis for sending me these absolutely stunning models, which you'll find all the relevant links for in the description below. And make sure that you go and check out all of the other creators' videos and blogs, which you'll find there too. Obviously, it's not a competition as such, but I'd love to know who you think came up with the best ideas too. So once you've gone and watched everyone else's video, make sure you come back here and let me know who you think came up with the best ones. If you've stuck around this far, thank you so much for watching. I know it's been a long time since I last uploaded a video, and my next video will be some sort of explanation for that, where I've been hiding, where I have not been on social media as much. And yeah, hopefully there will be some explanations in there for you. So keep an eye out for that video, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.